Hello dear students, I extend a hearty welcome to all of you. As you all know, we were discussing poems for comprehension. This is part 3. We will be discussing the poems that are prescribed for you all. Also, we will discuss the questions that we could fetch from the previous year's question papers. So brace yourselves and pick a notebook and a pen as we go along. Today the first poem is Sonnet 55 by William Shakespeare. The stanza that is taken or which was mentioned in one of the question papers, previous year's question papers, is this: not marble nor the gilded monuments of princes shall outlive this powerful rhyme, but you shall shine more bright in these contents than unswept stone besmeared with sluttish time. Well, the theme of this poem is immortality by Shakespeare, and the overall understanding of this poem is literature has the power to immortalize everything. The stones, the fine monuments are subject to distasteful time, but the literary works, as this sonnet, remains immortal. So the literary works always remain immortal, like this sonnet. This was written in 16th century by Shakespeare, but it is still being read. So this is what the poet tries to tell, that the literary works will remain immortal, whereas the monuments, be it the fine engraved stones, be it the materials that are to be found, will become mortal. Monuments, he further says, will never outlive the effect which literature carries or possesses. So the questions set on this particular stanza are as follows. I shall provide you with answers as well. What cannot outlive this powerful rhyme? So the answer here is neither marble nor gilded monuments. Neither marble nor gilded monuments is the answer. Second question, these monuments are erected by dash, and the answer is princes. Question number third, how is time personified? The answer is sluttish. Time is personified as sluttish. So, as I told you, dear students, you may not or you need not study and comprehend these particular poems that are provided to you and prescribed to you in the book of streams. You just can have the understanding of the words that are there in the poem, need not analytically study the poems. You just have to skim and scan the poems, read them, and understand the words that are there. Might prove to be difficult to you. Please refer the dictionaries and understand those words. The questions set on these particular poems are quite easy, as you see here. So let us move on to the next poem. The Reverie of Poor Susan by William Wordsworth. Reverie is nothing but daydreaming. The meaning of reverie is daydreaming. So, William Wordsworth, a nature poet, celebrates the power of nature here. How powerful the nature is, he celebrates in this particular poem. Let us understand the provided stanza in one of the previous year's question papers. At the corner of Wood Street is in London, when daylight appears, hangs the thrush. Thrush means a brown bird, a bird it is. Hangs the thrush that sings loud. It has sung for 3 years. Poor Susan has passed by the spot and has heard in the silence of morning the song of the bird. Here, this poor Susan has lived in London for 3 years. She has been living in this city, leaving behind her house, which is in the heart of countryside. Poor Susan every day passes by this particular Wood Street, and a thrush, that is a brown bird here, reminds her of her country life. She recalls her country life as this particular bird reminds her of her country life. It's a beautiful poem full of imagery. I urge you to read this poem completely. So the questions set here are as follows. Where does Susan come across the thrush? Where does Susan come across this bird? Simple answer, at the corner of Wood Street. How long has the thrush been singing? For 3 years. For 3 years, she has lived in this city, but the power of countryside, that is the nature, is so much engraved, etched in her mind that she is unable to forget her country life. She is unable to forget the beauty of nature that once she surrounded with. The third question, when has Susan heard the song of the bird? Simple answer, in the silence of morning. I hope you have understood this particular stanza of the poem, The Reverie of Poor Susan. Reverie means daydreaming. Let us move on to the next poem, The Road Not Taken, by one of the finest writers in American literature, Robert Frost. The theme here is choices that one makes in life. The theme of this poem is the choices that we make in our lives. Here, please understand, road metaphorically means choice one has to make. Road is metaphorically signified as choice. The speaker analyzes both the roads and finally decides not to jump on the bandwagon but take the less traveled road. Here the text goes as this: two roads diverged in a yellow wood. That is, two roads, two different paths lay before the speaker here in a yellow forest. I am sorry, I could not travel both. it's common sense to understand that one cannot travel both the paths. So he completely analyzes the scenario here. And be one traveler, long I stood and looked down one as far as I could to where it bent in the undergrowth. So he analyzed both the paths, the pros and cons of both the paths, and finally took a decision. So this is the poem that suggests how difficult can it be for people to make a choice when the choices are given. So we need to be quite intellectual and we need to be quite analytical before choosing a particular path in our life, because neither can we come back to the same juncture nor we can travel both the roads. So we need to pick a particular, or we need to make a particular choice quite intelligently, is what this poem suggests us. So the questions set on this particular stanza, not the whole poem, this particular stanza, are as follows. What color is the wood? Answer is yellow. The speaker sees before him dash two roads diverging in a forest. The speaker sees before him two roads diverging in a forest. Final question. How many travelers are there? There's only one traveler. So these are the questions set on the road knot taken by Robert Frost. Moving on to the fourth poem. This, above all, is precious and remarkable, by John Wayne. This, above all, what is this here? The theme of this poem is trust, how we trust one another in our day-to-day lives. So this here means interconnection. Interconnection, that is the relationship between two people. It might be known people or unknown people. The gist of this poem, this above all is precious and remarkable, is quite simple. How the poet tries to tell us how interconnection of two unknown people proves to be precious and remarkable. The poet befittingly presents this particular interconnection. You might have seen how a teacher teaches justly, honestly, and the teacher teaches so that he or she can earn his or her livelihood, but in turn becomes such an influential figure for the students that he or she has not aimed to become. The aim is to work honestly, earn livelihood, and go home. But as a teacher honestly works and dedicatedly does his or her work, finally becomes an influential person for the students. So this is what the interconnection the poet tries to tell us here. So the stanza that is provided here in one of the question papers is this. This above all is precious and remarkable. How we put ourselves in one another's care. How, in spite of everything, we trust each other. So I just gave an example of teacher and student. There are various examples like doctor and a patient, how a patient trusts a doctor. Doctor is just there to work, perform the duty, but in turn saves the life of the patient. Like that, there are few examples that are given in this particular poem. Please read the poem for better understanding. In the poem, how the navigators, that is, the weather forecast people, do their work, perform their duties, in turn end up helping the sailors who are in the sea. So, this is another example that is given in the poem. So, questions set on this particular poem are: where do we put ourselves? Simple answer: in one another's care. In one another's care, we put ourselves. Second question: pick the word that means priceless in the given lines. No points for guessing. Precious. The answer is precious. Third question: in spite of everything, we dash each other. What do? We trust each other. Trust is the answer. So, after the completion of yet another simple poem, let us move on to the final poem, that is The Bangle Sellers by Sarojini Naidu. The theme of this poem is matriarchy. Matriarchy, I repeat, is the theme of this poem. In this poem, the poet Sarojini Naidu, the poetess for that matter, through the bangle seller, tells us how a particular design and color of bangles are designated for particular women, particular set of women who wear them. What color or design should the maidens must wear? What kind of color should these brides wear? What color of bangles should these married women wear? What color of bangles should these mothers, experienced women, the mothers should wear in their lives, is what befittingly told by Sarojini Naidu in this poem. Let us check the stanza that is provided to us. Bangle sellers are we who bear our shining loads to the temple fair. Who will buy these delicate, bright, rainbow tinted circles of light, lustrous tokens of radiant lives for happy daughters and happy wives? So let us check the questions set on this stanza. Where are the bangle sellers taking their shining loads to? Answer: to the temple fair. How are the hawkers? Hawkers? Sellers. The meaning of hawkers is sellers. How are the hawkers describing the bangles? The description goes as this: delicate, bright, and rainbow tinted circles of light. Bangles are described as delicate, bright, and rainbow tinted circles of light. And finally, whom are they urging to buy these bangles for? Happy daughters and happy wives. The bangle sellers are urging happy daughters and happy wives to buy these bangles. So, 5 more poems we have discussed today, and the remaining poems will be discussed, explained, and analyzed in the next session. Until then, Thank you so much, dear students. I shall take your leave. Have a good day. Stay safe. Take care of yourselves.